Welcome to DISCflex certification.
This one I've concentrated on a lot. So I can kind of look at these ones on dialing up the C because remember I told you mine was 8. Um, I, I really have worked on upping my compliance behaviors so that I can grab them out of my tool bag whenever I want. So one of the things I concentrated on for dialing up my C is prioritizing tasks. I make sure I prioritize everything at least once a day, and I do global prioritization once a week without fail. Otherwise, I'm not as efficient. Um, I do structure my day. So that is a dialing up C behavior. I don't like to do it, but I do it. And then I find out the guidelines well in advance so that I know that I'm not going to make any faux pas and or any mistakes when I'm dealing with people or teams. I like to know the guidelines well ahead of time, and that keeps me out of compliance trouble. I also think that creating the right quality standards and talking about them up front is really important. And that has helped me a lot in dialing up my compliance type behaviors. And I know that when I coach people, it helps them as well. I do define always the RA squared components, which are responsibility, accountability, and authority guidelines in particular. I make sure that those are done. If I don't do that, it doesn't typically go well on a team. So I make sure that whenever I'm leading an organization, that I make sure that those responsibility, accountability, and authority guidelines are well known and understood. Um, when I am strategizing and doing strategic planning, I make sure that if I have to dial up the C behaviors, that I do dig down into the planning aspects, especially when we've got major projects going on. I want to make sure that I understand the details. I understand how people have organized their thoughts, their folders, all of that type of stuff, and how we are going to report and keep track of where we are and where we're going. Um, I think that the biggest way that I teach people that is so impactful on dialing up compliance behaviors is to actually outline and define boundaries. This is a talent in and of itself, and we have a lot of information on boundaries and making sure that people understand boundaries, that boundaries are set, and that people discuss them and monitor them as they go along their work responsibilities. I think that's really important. And it keeps a team safe and whole. Um, One of the things that I've done also on compliance is I reach out to compliance type people. I ask an expert in that field. And I also refer to instructions a lot more. And now that I'm older than I did when I was younger, I would build something and come to the last thing, and there's an extra piece. I don't do that anymore. I lay everything out because I know that being a bit more compliant in those type of tasks is just smart business and saves time and saves a lot of frustration. So those are ways you can dial up compliance. Dialing down compliance is equally as important as being able to dial it up. And some of the ways that you can dial down compliance and be less rigid, less organized, more innovative are extremely important. So let's go over them right now. Uh, I think that being less compliant is really more starting with a mindset of low compliance or lowering compliance. So first thing that we always suggest is be a bit more open-minded. I know that the task list is there and the prioritization list is there, but if you're a little bit more open-minded and willing to change, that is definitely a dial down of compliance behaviors. Um, I would also question why people have rules, why those rules were actually created, including the benefits of those rules and the consequences of those rules. And when you're questioning rules and the way things have been, that is definitely dialing back, dialing down your compliance behaviors. And along with that goes speaking up and being creative. You know, getting out of the box, jumping out of the box, being more creative, not being constrained by any boxes or any lines. That it's more of a blue ocean than a little pond. And then change your routine. I always say when I'm coaching people that are high C, well, when do you leave the office? What do you do? How do you drive home? Let's just get out of that routine. And if you get into the habit of changing up your routine, you will find that you're more able and more adapt to change routines in other ways as well. So get comfortable with the small things and then move on to the bigger routines. Um, and then learn rapport building techniques. High lower high C people, when they want to lower their compliance, need to get out of their comfort zone. And getting out of the comfort zone means that you have to interact with different people who are not as organized as you are and be comfortable in doing that. So rapport building techniques with people who are not high compliance people, who are a little bit more messy than you, a little bit more innovative than you, your opposite. It's actually a really great way to dial down that C and become comfortable with it. And then, confront your biases. If you think things have to be this way and it's your way or the highway, that is a bias. That it has to be done in a certain manner or else it's not correct. Those are biases. So confront those high C type of biases. And then focus on behaviors of people, learn about behaviors, learn about communication, and step out of your box rather than being in that tightness there. One of the other things that you could do is actually look at the big picture, be a big picture thinker. So when you have your task list, look at it more strategically than tactically, which is super important as well, to lower those C behaviors.